Welcome back to CFB Nation. I am your host, Nino Brown. I got my man, my co-host, my co-pilot in this one, the Gun at Roost. It's deep fried draft. Brian Bosage, my man. How we doing tonight?
Nino, we're rested. We had a week off. We recuperated. No South Carolina. I was able to enjoy the Red River rivalry and
Oof.
watch a little LSU Missouri, and I was able to enjoy some other games without having to,
Yeah,
worry about what was going on with South Carolina last weekend.
yeah. It was nice, right? You didn't have to worry about if you're gonna be embarrassed with the O line play or which Rattler we're gonna get. But it's been a nice week off, but I got some questions for you, and they may not all circle around South Carolina because they're coming off the bye. But I got
Right.
some rapid fire for you. You ready?
Let's do it.
All right. What percentage of healthiness will the Gamecocks be coming out the bye?
From Shane Beamer's comments today, they're fairly healthy
Okay.
coming out of the bye. They're still not going to have Carson Henry, the freshman offensive tackle who got hurt in the North Carolina game. He's out. I'm sorry, he's doubtful, which means he's out.
Yeah.
Juice Wells is also not going to play this week. He's still listed as doubtful. So, but other than that, everybody else, it almost sounds like are good to go.
Okay.
Drew Tuzama, we're going to talk about him a little bit later. Apparently, he had a personal issue, is why he didn't play against Tennessee.
Yes.
So,
And I read that the team and coach were behind it, the
yeah,
decision to
so,
not go. So it is what it is. So
right.
we'll just leave it at that. But yeah, we're gonna touch on him in a little bit. Rapid fire question number 2. Give me right now your college football playoff.
Georgia, locked in. Chisel that one on in. They're in. I'm gonna say Michigan because they're playing just really good football right
Mm-hmm.
now. I think Ohio State. I don't think they're playing their best football right now. Uh, I give Penn State a puncher's chance against Michigan when they
Okay.
play. But right now, I'll say Michigan. Washington, Oregon winner
Okay.
is in, and I'm gonna say Texas
All right.
because I think they'll play Oklahoma again in the Big 12 championship game, and I think they'll get them this time, and because of when they win, they'll get that final spot.
Okay. All right. I like the teams and the reason why. So we'll see what happens. I like the Texas is there. That was my team to be in the championship game, LSU and Texas, before the season started. LSU got soft on me. I don't know when all of a sudden that defense became soft, but they got soft, and Texas just had the hiccup. But
I like
I don't.
Florida State too. I just don't think they're going to survive the 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 gamut.
I think the two
They're going to
hottest.
lose a game they're not supposed to lose.
All right, I can see it. It makes sense. It's just the two games I said was LSU and Clemson, and they just took those by storm. So the rest of the dock, but for them, the schedule kind of seems.
I presume they still play Louisville, right?
Yeah, yeah. No,
That's a
you're
fun
right.
team, man. That's a
It
fun
is a
team.
fun team. I love them. Me and KT been talking about him for a while now. Uh, Jordan's a good dude, and if Plummer puts it together as a QB, watch out. But all right, I like it. My next one. I know I got you scrambling on this one. First big name coach to get fired due to performance. I say that because obviously Mel Tucker got canned, but that had nothing to do with performance. First big coach to get fired. Go.
I don't think it's going to be an in-season fire.
Okay.
So you could choose. There's going to be at least 6 or 7, right? Or probably get fired the day after the final game, that the Sunday, if you
Yeah.
will, after the rivalry games. But here's one that I'm going to go with just based off. I think they're completely underachieving in the new Big 12. Dana Holgerson at Houston
Okay.
is a name I'm going to throw out. A Group of 5 coach. I don't know if he'll get fired, but I think his seat needs to be really hot, and that's Will Hall at Southern Miss. I thought he would do so much better
Yeah, they're terrible.
than what they've done. But he's supposed to be an offensive guru, and that offense has completely sucked for 3 years now. He can't develop a quarterback at all to the point where you actually think Frank Gore might be the best quarterback on the roster.
And he's having a terrible year, like compared to his normal crazy stats.
And I don't think it's his fault.
No, I
because
don't. I
he's
don't
the
either.
only he's
Yeah,
there. He's the
it's
only thing
schemed
the
out.
team has to stop.
Yeah, the
Yeah.
defense is scheming him out of the game plan. But
So yeah, Holgo at Houston, I think, is going to be one of the bigger names fired, and I think Will Hall at Southern Miss maybe should, but probably won't.
if he can't get this right, there was a lot of hype coming in. I think Pittman is is a chance he gets the axe, man. He's got the pieces, he's got the talent, and they had hype coming into it, and they are just falling flat on their face. But I don't know if he would get in season, but I think he could be one of them guys that Sunday morning getting a phone call. If the trajectory keeps the way it's going,
Yeah,
but
that's going to be one of those spots where if
it's
you
money.
fire him, what does it matter? I mean, are you gonna who you're gonna get in there that's going to do any different?
Yeah, yeah.
I
I
mean, I'm
guess.
not saying you. It's one of those deals, and that applies at a lot of these places. Have a plan before you pull the trigger. Don't
Right.
just fire
Yes.
somebody
Hmm.
because you think you need to fire them. You need to have a plan. If you don't have a plan, then you're going to end up in worse shape than
Then
what
you
you are
were.
now.
Yeah. Yeah.
Looking at you like Virginia Tech, I feel like is an example here. Virginia, I feel like is an example here. These are schools that are still struggling,
Yep.
even after the fact because they had no plan at all.
I'm with you. I'm with you. I, I see that part. I think they just underachieved crazy. All right, let me hit you with the last rapid fire before we get into Gamecocks football. Give me a top choice for Heisman right now.
A Pac-12 quarterback.
Okay. All right. I like that.
I mean, I don't want to. It's very hard to narrow it down. As long as Southern Cal is unbeaten, Caleb Williams has to be considered a favorite.
Yeah.
But I think with the numbers that Penix is putting up, if they continue to win, going to be hard to keep him off that stage in New York. But if Oregon wins, Bo Nix has to be considered, right?
Yeah.
Look, man, I talked very positively about Bo Nix on the Draft Countdown podcast last week. Now, I don't know if you heard it or not, but it cut me a little bit to the bone, but I did.
It's refreshing to hear it. Finally one of the guys I like you like because last year I got knocked around on two guys. So now you coming around on them. Um,
I feel like
I,
it was right on that one, though.
He might have been right on the Levis. I just gotta see. That's still on pause because he hasn't got a chance yet due to the health concern. But let's get into the guy at Roost now. Let's talk some Gamecocks football here. Give me the good coming out of the bye week.
Xavier Legette was added to the Bolitnikoff watch list. I am a
Okay.
Bolitnikoff voter as well as several other college football awards and stuff as a member of the Football Writers Association of America. So I got that notification this week. I'm like, hey, well, good. So now at least when it comes time to vote for the 10 semifinalists, I at least know he'll get at least a token vote from me, whether he's still in contention for the award or not. But that was good to see coming during the bye week.
I got a little a little nugget on Leggett coming
Uh-oh.
out of the bye week. Signed a little NIL deal, right, with a restaurant / sports bar in Columbia, a tin roof. He's got his own XL meal. It's 20 wings, sloppy nachos, and any side. He's the second receiver this year to get an NIL deal with food. You got Juice. He's got to deal with the Village Idiot Pizza Place, but Legette's getting some recognition now outside of the football field, getting that money. Good for him. Hey, now he's always got a meal, right?
Curious where that restaurant bar is. I wonder if it's in the Five Points district in Columbia because back about 15 years ago, that was a spot for a lot of Gamecock football players to get in trouble.
Oh boy.
Back in the day. I don't know if it's still the same or not, but I don't know if you remember Steven Garcia, but he was famously
Ooh.
liquored up in that part of town. But as far as the meal goes, I'm a wing guy. Not much of I don't like fries, nachos, whatever, just covered in a bunch of stuff.
No.
That's not my
Yeah.
bag. Just give me cheese on nachos. But I do like some wings though.
Yeah, hey, like I said, the kid's always got a meal, so good for him. And like I said, him and Juice both got NIL deals in the food business. All right, give me the bad here coming out the bye week.
Did they do any self-reflection over the bye week? Did we look inwardly and see how to fix the pass rush? Did we look inwardly and see how do we get Nicholas Harbor involved in the effing offense this week?
Yeah. Yeah.
Did we do all of this stuff? That's all I care about coming
Uh,
out of this bye week.
yeah. I don't understand it, right? He's a 5-star, right? You can't find his way under the field with the injuries you had at wide receiver.
One target.
He had 15 receptions for almost 450 yards and 5 touchdowns his senior year, on top of 45 tackles, 16 tackles for loss, and 5 sacks. This kid is a pure athlete. There has to be a way to get him on the field. Like, Beamer, come on, man.
Has to be.
Give him a chance. 5, 10 snaps. I'm cool with that. Better than 1 in 6 games. You know what I mean? All right. The ugly. What is the ugly coming out of the bye here?
The fact that we're sitting here looking at this game against Florida on October the 14th, and it's an absolute, no doubter, must-win game. Just to have any chance to play in a bowl game is gross.
Yeah.
Earlier in the week when he first put them out, Brett McMurphy does this every week over at Action Sports Network. He had USC is scheduled to play Kansas State in the AutoZone Liberty Bowl. You have updated that. It is now have changed where they're now playing Baylor in the Birmingham Bowl here in the state of Alabama. I won't call it the state of Alabama. The state of Alabama. So yeah, I would probably get credentialed for that game if that was the case.
That's awesome, man. You get to see your team, on the field.
Would be the second year in a row I've done that.
Really?
I was credentialed for the Gator Bowl last year.
Well, good for you. Yeah,
it would be the second time I'd been credentialed to see them in the Birmingham Bowl.
That might be. It's not good that that's becoming a.
No, but that was actually the first football game I was ever credentialed to. Was the 2016 Birmingham Bowl. I was credentialed to the Senior Bowl immediately after that for the first time. So.
Good shit. That's good stuff. I like that. Good for you. We get you on that field, watch team, and maybe you get to watch them on a better bowl the following year, right? But we'll take it.
I actually went down because you can go down on the field for like the last 10 minutes.
Yep, and in pregame, I think, right?
Yeah, in pregame. So I went down. It was cold. It was cold. I'm targeting temps in the 30s. I'm down there. I'm in the end zone, freezing. But the game goes. They were playing South Florida. This was Muschamp's first year, I think.
Okay.
At South Carolina.
Yep.
So they end up going to overtime, and all the overtime is down on the end of the end zone that I was at. So that was pretty neat. Get to see it all right there. So.
Yeah, that's cool. That's a good way to close it out, though, right? Nice way to finish off the experience. All right. Let's talk about strength of schedule a little bit here. Because it pertains to South Carolina a little bit. Talk to me about through week 6 where South Carolina's at.
So, I felt like it was a tough schedule, right? They played up to this point. Sagarin does some sort of nice math algorithm, whatever they do, to come up with this strength of schedule. And through week 6, the toughest schedule any team has played in the country is the University of South Carolina. LSU comes in at second, followed by Alabama, Texas, and then Colorado, Ole Miss, Iowa State, Arkansas, West Virginia, and San Jose State. San Jose State's the only group of 5 team on that list. But the 2024 SEC has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 of the top 10 toughest schedules.
That's wild. Absolutely wild. The Gamecocks and Razorbacks poll record is surprising to me. As is Colorado with 4, West Virginia with 4. I'm surprised. I got a question coming off scripted. Is Neil Brown or Deion Sanders candidates for Coach of the Year?
I mean, Deion's going to get votes just because of who he is, especially if they finish the season 7-5.
Okay.
Probably, I think that's probably 8. I think if he gets Colorado to 8-4, I think he's going to win.
Okay.
Neil Brown, if they go 10-2, maybe he gets talked about, but nobody knows who Neil Brown is.
No,
right?
not at all.
Even the casuals who vote for this, which I do get a vote for the Coach of the Year award as well. So That would be the case there. I think
Yeah.
if West Virginia gets 10-2, I don't think they're a 10-2 team. I think they're barely a 4-1 team from
Yeah,
what
they're
I've
playing
gathered. I
above.
will watch them this week for the first time this season though. I'm going to watch their game against Houston. I think Thursday night. So I'll
I like Houston's wide receivers. I think they got some dudes there, but
I love Donovan Smith.
yeah,
Their quarterback.
oh, okay,
I
okay,
do.
yeah. I like Golden, and Brown, Samuel Brown. Those guys, man, they just find a way to get open. It's like bigger versions of Tank Dell, right? Not everybody can beat Tank or Zay, but like that style of guys, but they just find a way to get open. And it seems like Houston just finds those type of receivers consistently. All right, let's talk a little bit stuff on the positive side here. Recruiting roundup. Give me some news on the recruiting side. What's going on?
So South Carolina currently doesn't have a commitment in the class of 2025. They have one in the class of 2026. We talked about him a few weeks ago. Landon Duckworth, the quarterback out of Jackson, Alabama, near here in Mobile. But this week, taking his second unofficial visit to campus will be 2025 four-star quarterback Ryan Montgomery from Findlay, Ohio, listed at 6'3", 200. He's currently the 11th rated pro style quarterback in the 2025 class per Rivals. Putting up some good numbers so far this season.
Yeah, you got like 1,700 yards, 21 touchdowns, 150 yards on the ground, and 2 touchdowns. Rushing as well. So he's a guy. Like I said, hey, you're lining him up, right? First it was Sellers, then Reno. Now this guy, hopefully you can lock him in, and you already got Duckworth on the hook. So you're stacking your ducks in a row early.
And I think that's every school wants to get a quarterback in every class, right? So you don't get left with the cupboard being completely bare. Because
the scraps. Yeah.
Our percentages tell us that two of those four quarterbacks will transfer, right?
Right.
That's just the way it is now.
Yeah.
It's just the way it is. So you don't want to get left holding the bag, so to speak.
Yeah, no, I'm with you 100%. Now, there's another gentleman that I believe received an offer this week. So talk to me about that guy.
Yeah, 2025 four-star running back Akillan Deer out of Quitman, Mississippi, got an offer this week. Also has offers out from Ole Miss, Florida State, Florida, Alabama, and Georgia. So we can pretty much guess this guy's he's got the goods. If all of those schools are recruiting right now. Per Rivals, a heavy lean to Ole Miss, but still plenty of time, I guess. But I don't think he's a guy that South Carolina is going to get. But, you never know. Shane Beamer's worked some magic here, and that staff's worked some magic over the last couple of seasons. So I guess we'll see. But
yeah. He's a guy. I'll tell you that. 2 out of the last 3 games for Deer, 291. On the ground, 5 touchdowns, and then just last week against NC Jones, 200 plus yards rushing, 4 touchdowns. Those are some gaudy numbers right there. I don't know if the Gamecocks can lock him down.
no, I don't feel too good about that one.
All right, I got a little segment for you I wanted to touch on because Beamer had a couple things to talk about. The 6'5", 275-pound hole plugger. That's what I'm going to call him from now on. Drew Tazama. What is it? Tazama? Is that his last? That's how you say it?
I think it's Tazama. Yeah.
Tazama. Okay. Is the breakout coming out the bye? Right. We talked about how he had a personal reason, and that's why he wasn't in the game last week. It seems like they're just gonna try to find a role for him. Right. That's what Clayton White said. They're gonna find a home for him wherever it could be. They're gonna be whether it be outside rush, on pass downs, or inside. However they can get him on the field, they're gonna do. What are your thoughts on Tazama? And do you like the fact that they're just going to put him anywhere to get a pass rush because they're struggling?
Yes, because they need depth and they need guys that can get after the quarterback. Something else that Beamer said in his presser when talking about Tazama was they've got to find a way to get Boogie Huntley and Tonka Hemingway some rest. They're pretty much playing the whole game, and that's not something you want your big 300-pound defensive tackles having to do. TJ Sanders got hurt in the second half of Tennessee, so he didn't play in the second half of that game. You need you need Tazama and you need some of these other guys to step up. I mean, you watched the UAB games last year. He flashed, had 5.5 sacks. Had
Yeah.
double-digit tackles for loss. He's a guy that can make an impact
Mm-hmm.
on the game, but he has done jack of all squat
They're not giving him any
so
snaps.
far.
It's not on him, you know.
Right, right.
Right.
So you've had the bye week now
Figure it
to
out.
get him figured in. Get Jordan Strong going a little bit more. Get some of these younger guys in there, rushing the passes. You've got to generate some outside pass rush this week. We'll talk a little bit more about getting Graham Mertz uncomfortable
Right.
a little bit, and I think the way to do that is by getting the pass rush going on the outside. But I really hope that because I was excited. When they got him late in camp. Now, he wasn't there early in fall practice. I mean, he was like mid-August coming on campus. So he was one of the last guys. It's like, we've got an extra scholarship. You don't want to play at UAB anymore. Yeah. Let's go.
Yeah. And they also, who's the gentleman from Syracuse, right?
JT Gear.
Yeah. So
he's another guy that I think he's been dinged up a good bit. So maybe this
out
week.
The bye. Right.
He's another guy that they kind of casually mentioned that was healthy this week. So you should have a full complement of guys against Florida. Go get them.
Yeah, I'm with you. I want to see the full package on defense, because if you get some pressure on the outside, it helps these guys in the middle. They're scheming them out. Like, that's the thing. The problem is they got lucky the first couple of weeks where they were able to apply the pressure, but now teams got them on film and they're seeing what it is. All right, talking about teams and everything. We got a game coming up against Florida. What are your thoughts here? Talk to me.
I mean, it's like I said earlier. It's about as got to have as you're going to get.
Yeah.
Florida comes into this game 4-2, 2-1 in the SEC. They have wins against McNeese State, whoop-de-doo, Charlotte, whoop-de-doo, Vandy, whoop-de-doo. But they beat the crap out of Tennessee.
They did.
A team that just beat the crap out of you. So that's an attention grabber. Doesn't make this game a guarantee at all. And their two losses were to good teams. Utah's a very good team, one of the better teams in the Pac-12. And Kentucky, who up to this past week was undefeated and then kind of got
smacked
against Georgia a little bit. But Kentucky's still a good team and a team that you're going to see in a few weeks as well. Travis Etienne is a stud, but dealing with an injury, upper body injury you've got here. Yeah. So is he going to play? Is he not? We'll see. Or is he going to be limited at the very least? But their other running back, Montrell Johnson, he's a hoss.
Yeah.
Running the football. So you got that. Ricky Pearsall, tremendous wide receiver, right? He made a catch earlier this season, right? I can't remember who it was against, but was it against Utah in the first game? Where they was like, is this better than the Odell catch? Because no gloves.
He got popped too.
Yeah,
right after.
He got hit.
Yeah.
So tough call to say, but I mean he's got 34 catches on the year for 453 and 2 touchdowns. So you got to figure that'll be your Marcellus Dial matchup of the week.
Yes.
This week is Pearsall. Graham Mertz, I didn't think he'd have done as well as he had. Percentage wise, now you're gonna poo-poo on him just a little bit, and I'm here for it. But so far, completing 80% of his passes for 1,474 yards, 9-2 touchdown interception ratio. Kill him, Nino.
Yeah, you're cool, right? You got 9-2, but your ADOT's of 5.6. And last week against Vanderbilt, you had an ADOT of 2.
Now, for those who are uneducated about what this ADOT acronym is.
Average depth of target. It's your average depth of target per throw. So it's like it's dunk and dink, dude. You're throwing the ball between 3 to 5 yards, and your receivers and your running backs are getting you all your yards. So yeah, I can see why you're 80% completion, because you're only throwing the ball 3 to 5 yards.
He's not challenging the ball downfield vertically like Rattler does.
No, not at all.
Speaking of Rattler, I want to get off. I know we're talking about Florida right now, but it's just popped in my brain, so we got to talk about it. When we were talking about quarterbacks on the Draft Countdown podcast last week, Shane was talking about Bo Nix and saying he's the least pressured quarterback in the country, and he was talking about Travis May has some metrics that he uses for pressure rate. So I was just said out loud, I wonder what Rattler's pressure percentage is.
Top 10.
One of the worst in the country at 38.16%. Spencer Rattler is pressured on almost 40% of the time that he drops back.
That's just, yeah.
That's disgusting. That's what
Yeah.
that is.
That's just gross.
And to have the success that he's had this
Is
season
insane.
right now is anyway. So I got off on that tangent, but Florida's defense feels gettable to me. Like they can get them down the field. I do like Princely Uman Mielen. I typed out the copy and paste the pronunciation of this one.
I love it.
I didn't butcher it. He's got 2 sacks so far, 4 tackles for loss. I think he's a early day 3 edge rush prospect. But they've only got 9 sacks total on the year in 6 games. They've only forced 2 turnovers in 6 games. 1 interception, 1 fumble. I used to love cornerback Jason Marshall. I was unaware of how bad he's been this season. He has now plummeted down my cornerback rankings with these little notes that you put in here. I'm just going to tell you. I don't love him so much anymore. Maybe you go after him a little bit.
Yeah,
It
you
seems
have
to be. He's 16 targets allowed, and he's allowed 10 catches this season for 266 yards and 3 touchdowns. Against Tennessee, Utah, and Vandy, you just got in underlined capital letters here, trash. So
I mean,
Jason Marshall. So their rest of their secondary doesn't have near the depth that it's had in years past when they've had the likes of like Marco Wilson and Trey Dean and those guys back there. So you don't have that depth. Kyer Elam, you don't have those guys there this year. South Carolina is actually favored in this game. It opened at 2.5. I checked this morning and it was down to 2. But still favored. That may just be the home field points there. So basically, on a neutral field, this is probably a pick 'em, if you will.
Yeah.
So I guess we'll see. It feels like we might see some points maybe dialed up in this game a little bit. Maybe the health of ETN is the difference here. If he's not full go.
I've been watching it, and I haven't seen that he's had a full practice yet. It's been no practices or limited, so that's concerning. But Jason Moss is going to attempt to cover Leggett, and that's going to be a bad day at the office for him. I can only imagine what our guy Trey Knox is going to get. I think Trey Knox can have a day. I actually picked him in fantasy in the CFF lists weekly waiver. He was my tight end. You got to draft guys under 30%. So I went with Trey Knox. I think he's going to have a great day. I think this is a good game for him. Their linebackers aren't that good. They're really not good in coverage. And I think Trey Knox can just dominate. But maybe it's Leggett because he's going to be smoking Marshall all the way down the field the whole game. But we'll have to see. Give me your final prediction for this Florida game.
This feels like it's a field goal game going into the 4th quarter. And Florida gets wore down a little bit. And we get a Mario Anderson 30-plus yard touchdown run to ice it with about 4 minutes left. Okay. Give me South Carolina 27-17 in this game.
All right. You got the W. I got the W as well. But I'm going to go with South Carolina 31-20. I think they're going to score early. And then, they're going to do what they tend to do this year. And they're going to let them back in it. Not in it, but let them score some points, get it closer. 31-20 is what I think. But I don't trust Graham Mertz. I never have.
That's fair.
And I think if there's interior pressure, he's going to fold. He's been trying to run this year. He doesn't know how to slide. He's been taking a lot of bad hits. KT will justify that with me. He doesn't look like he knows what he's doing when he's running. Something that Florida's always had, but he's not that type of guy. I don't trust the health of ETN as well. And like I said, Jason Marshall has taken the biggest 180 in the DB that I've seen. Like Denzel Burke was pretty bad last year. He's back to being Denzel Burke. Jason Marshall doesn't even look like anything like himself. I wonder if there's an injury somewhere because it's concerning that he's getting torched like that.
Could be.
He was supposed to be a top DB in the class. All right. Anything else we can wrap it up before we close it out?
Only right now, Jacksonville State +7 tonight, up 7-3, wearing the sweetest helmets I've ever seen.
I love it. Hey, they are undefeated against the spread. Probably gonna do it again one more time this game here. Oh, fingers crossed. All right. For Nino Brown, my man, Brian Bosage, Deep Fried Draft. This is the Garnet Roost on CFB Nation. See you next week.